10,000 mealworms versus a watermelon. What's gonna happen?
These are mealworms, and they're known for their ability to eat almost anything. But
First time watching though.
10,000 mealworms on a whole watermelon. How quickly would they completely eat it and turn it to mush despite its massive size? Yeah, I don't know, so that's why I bought 10,000 mealworms.
Wait, where did these guys get all these things?
Yeah, this is the most nastiest thing I've ever done, but it'll also be one of the most satisfying things I'll ever do on the channel. Okay, well, I got the watermelons right here.
Most satisfying thing, wow.
First, just kind of want to put this piece of bread in here to see how quickly these mealworms will start to devour it. So yeah, I put the bread inside, and as you could probably imagine, the mealworms wasted no time to start swarming this thing, and of course, they then started to consume it. If you pay attention to right here in specific, you can see how they just devour a massive...
Wait, is it that actually focused on one spot?
Hole right through the center of the bread. If they're doing this to the tiny piece of bread, imagine what they do to the full watermelon. Anyways, literally after only 4 hours, this bread was hollowed out with mealworms and just had holes all over it. But this is literally nothing compared to the other time lapses I'll be showing off in the video. I have tons of stuff planned, ending with the final 10,000 mealworms versus the whole watermelon. But don't think the stuff before is boring.
Just like Mr. Beast, but using animals like insects like that.
Because we're going to be starting with leeches. Yup, you heard that right. For the first time lapse I'll be recording, I went and bought 5 big leeches. Yup, leeches usually live in the wild and grab onto unsuspecting prey to basically just suck the blood out of them. Well, since I have 5 these leeches and they're in captivity, it's gonna allow me to get some insane time-lapse footage in the life out of a food object as the leeches get bigger. It should be pretty cool. And if you watch my video about keeping pet leeches, you'd know they basically like to spend all their time under the water, so that's why I'll be setting up an aquarium for this test. And then quickly, I'm just gonna fill up this tank with this, so I can go ahead and put the leeches inside, so we can get this test started. So yeah, I put each of these 5 leeches inside, and I put a lid on top so they didn't escape. And immediately you can kind of just see how they all just start swimming.
Is it that leeches actually exist only in water? They cannot actually live outside water?
Under the water, just sort of like how snakes do. Yeah, it's kind of weird honestly, but once they want to stop swimming, they'll go up to the glass and just grab onto it using the end of their bodies basically as a suction cup. It's actually pretty cool. Anyways, for the food I'll be feeding these guys, it's this piece of beef liver. Well, alright, why don't we just drop this slimy nastiness into here and see how long it takes for these leeches to get absolutely massive. And so step 1 was to actually get the leeches to bite onto this piece of meat, which is pretty easy. You basically just pick up the piece of meat with tweezers and start bringing it up to the leech's faces until they grab onto it. So yeah, I just went around and picked up all the leeches onto the meats. But if you couldn't tell, the water quality got super bad because of the beef liver, so I decided to actually let the leeches eat the beef liver out of the water, since in the wild, that's actually how they prefer to feast. And while a couple of the leeches kind of detached from the piece of meat and started to run away, 3 of the leeches actually did stay on it, so I could watch as they started to eat. You can literally see them contract their throats in and out as they basically use their teeth to grind the meat up, and then they suck it up like nasty, a smoothie up into their bodies. But things actually did not go to plan, because out of nowhere,
bro, like, actually enjoy this.
This leech decided to detach from the piece of meat, and then he just started to slither away randomly. Then the other 2 leeches decided to detach too, and this guy decided to just burrow into the piece of meat, and this one just slithered away. Hey, at least we got to watch him eat for a little bit, but this is why I love time lapses. You just capture random interesting stuff like this. But even these leeches are nowhere near as interesting as the time lapse coming up later, because the time lapses get cooler as the video progresses. So that's why for our second time lapse, we're gonna be recording flesh-eating beetles. Yes, you heard that right. Flesh-eating beetles. And they're called that because they're beetles that eat flesh. And well, let me show you why that is so cool. Now, as you can see, there's some actual flesh-eating beetles in here, but most of the things in here are still in their larva stage, which means they're actually even more...
That is actually what I wanted to talk about.
More hungry than usual. And you see, these insects are cool because they can literally just eat the flesh off of animals to the point where they only leave the skeleton bones behind.
Some of y'all might be like, why do this thing exist? Yeah, that's it. That's the reason right there. The reason is actually right there. Because if you look at this, if something dies and it is not buried, these just eat them off instead of it smelling in the environment.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and record a time lapse of that.
And I've got thousands of flesh-eating beetles in here to the point if I put my finger in there, it would probably turn into a skeleton. Actually, you know what? I wonder what would happen if I put a piece of dog food in there. Hey, I guess let me get a quick time lapse real quick.
So I put the dog food in, and oh guys, all I'll say is things are about to get interesting with these beetles. But as you could probably imagine, buying all these crazy bugs and worms is extremely expensive, and I've been needing to manage a lot of money. And if you're wondering, it didn't take them very long for them to start swarming this piece of dog food. You see, these are dog treats that I buy for my dog Jet, and they're made out of the top quality real beef ingredients, which of course Jet loves, but that also explains why these flesh
What if your hand was bitten?
eating beetle larvae were also loving it. Anyways, it was pretty crazy how after just a few of these beetles latched onto the dog food, pretty much all of the beetles soon followed behind until literally this—
Wait, what if this insect gets filled up first and you've not actually entered the real thing?
The dog food was literally like just not a piece of dog food anymore. This is just a living piece of flesh-eating beetle at this point. Yeah, there's just so many on here.
Oh my gosh, bro, what? These guys are so hungry.
So yeah, I shook them all off because if you remember, the main reason I got these beetles is because I actually want to see if they could turn an animal into a skeleton by just eating its flesh. And I don't want them to get filled up on this, but anyways, considering this piece of dog food was only in there for like 10 minutes, the beetles made a pretty decent amount of progress by chewing a bunch of tiny little chunks out of it.
Anyways, of course, I'm feeding these guys. I've got a duck head. Yeah, and we're gonna see if they can turn it into a white duck skull.
Oh, I love
this,
this.
guys. I didn't do this to the duck. I actually just bought this at the pet store. Apparently, they're dog food. Jack, can you give this a taste test? You think the flesh-eating beetles? You think they're gonna like it? Yeah, he's licking it. I think he likes it.
So since it passes the Jet taste test,
Like the dog is like, I'm gonna take my time to finish this. No more rushing. But if there were other dogs there, oh my goodness.
I wasted no time to put this into our tank. Let's see what these bugs do. Now,
outside
immediately things were pretty interesting because many of the beetles, of course, were drawn to this nasty duck head, and pretty much all of the beetles started to gather at the base of the head. These guys were all slowly chewing away at the fur of this duck head, and it was cool because you could gradually see the group of flesh-eating beetles move up along the side of the duck head, and they were even eating it so much that they ended up knocking it over. Eventually, it was so nasty because the beetles had just completely swarmed the head and were crawling in and out different parts of it, like the hole in the beak. And after leaving this in here for a full 24 hours, you can just see how much they chewed through all the fur and just how nasty this is. But the real damage was done on the bottom of the skull, where it was completely chewed through. These are the literal bones of the duck skull, and this is just straight up so disgusting. This looks like a zombie duck head at this point.
Oh my gosh, this smells so bad, you guys don't even know. But dang, check this out. I'm actually kind of surprised this didn't just like turn a completely white skull kind of color, because I know these beetles sometimes do that, but I guess it makes sense. This is just kind of dog food. But I would—
How many of y'all love the things that Terra Green actually does? Like Terra Green one. I don't know if there's Terra Green like the normal Terra Green.
call it a success. I mean, look at how destroyed this thing is. Anyways, so these guys will definitely make a very interesting addition to my pet collection.
I love to make videos
we're almost
like
at the
these.
final 10,000 mealworms versus watermelon test. But quickly, I'm excited to show you guys time lapse number 3, which is an alien creature digging.
Yup, you know how some people set up their ant colonies into the ant nest to get footage of them digging out those tunnels along the glass? Well, this alien creature is actually able to do the same exact thing. Let me show you how.
Yeah, so this thing's called a vinegaroon, and it's the same one from a few videos ago on my channel. But you see, I call them an
vinegaroon
alien because, I mean, just look at them. They look extremely weird, and they have these claws at the front of their body that actually allow them to dig.
Yep, and for this guy, as you can see, I filled this tank up with a bunch of clay. But if you look, I actually left a hole on the side of the glass empty. That way, when I go and fill this place up with dirt, the vinegaroon won't be able to make a hole anywhere in this dirt other than that hole I made in the clay right on the side of the glass there.
Now, anyways, after getting the dirt in, I wasted no time to put the vinegaroon inside. Now, immediately, this alien creature wasn't exactly super interested in digging. He was kind of just trying to climb out. But you see, that's because there's actually a few things I have to set up in here to—
Yo, just like, hey, why you putting me here? Let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out.
I want to dig quickly. First of all, I put this water dish in here, and then I started to use my finger to dig out a little tunnel under the water dish. Now when the vinegaroon comes over here, he'll find the little entrance to the burrow I made, and when he's ready to dig, he'll know where to start. So guys, I just went and set up my time-lapse camera in another room so we could observe what these creatures do when no one's watching. And yeah, during the first few hours, since it was technically still day, you can see he was very active amongst the top section, still trying to escape. But the second it hit nighttime, this dude went down to the burrow section and he started to dig up like a straight up drill. Nah, let's see that on an instant replay. That's actually pretty cool.
That is
you can
actually
literally
crazy.
see the pile of dirt up here grow as the vinegaroon digs out all the dirt from the tunnel. I think this is some of the clearest footage ever.
Okay, like you take it, you actually take off the dirt from under, then take it up, drop it, goes back. Like, what a crazy
caught of these creatures digging. It's pretty cool to watch.
Well, dang, now that this guy dug this tunnel, you're probably wondering why they
I
actually
love
make
the
these
storytelling.
tunnels. Well, they actually make them to hunt. And well, I got a cricket right in here. Let's drop this thing in.
And so after I dropped the cricket in, he started to walk around the top area, but little did he know the vinegaroon was right under his feet, waiting in the burrow for food to walk in. And a little bit later, the cricket did just that. He started squeezing through the opening that was dug out the night before, and he went in deep enough to where the vinegaroon was sitting. I know it got super foggy in here when I brought it to my recording area, so it's kind of hard to see, but the vinegaroon started to attack the cricket, and he started to chase him out the burrow. The cricket tried to escape, but it was no use because the claws of the vinegaroon are just too strong. And I know you guys can't really see it well in this footage, but I can assure you the cricket is no longer with us, to put it lightly. Dang, that was cool. But I'm gonna go and move this guy back to his original enclosure I built in the original. Well guys, it's finally time to do our final time lapses with the 10.
Now, Chelsea, this is the main reason we watch this video, okay? And funny enough, how one thing takes us around the same way Mr. Beast does.
1,000 mealworms.
Okay, I'm not gonna waste any time, and I'm gonna record some stuff right away. But before we do the watermelon, I actually want to start with something a lot more interesting. This
Why are you
thing.
stressing this
This
stuff?
is literally a piece of styrofoam. And you're probably wondering right
Mr. Beast does this a lot.
now, what the heck,
I would
Green?
like
Why are you
Chelsea.
feeding this to the worms? Well, it's because mealworms have an absolutely insane special ability, and it's actually that they can somehow digest styrofoam. Yeah, talk about the latest special ability ever, but I just had to get a time up showing this off, and immediately, these dudes started to completely climb all over the styrofoam, completely covering it. I don't know why mealworms are one of the only animals that can eat styrofoam. It's honestly kind of weird, and the craziest part about this time lapse is if you look right down here, you can literally see the moment when the mealworms
was
decided to
fast.
start chewing a massive hole through the side of the styrofoam. So they could literally crawl inside to eat more. It's super cool. And anyways, after
Why are they eating styrofoam?
leaving the styrofoam in here all night, I shook off all the mealworms so we could see the damage that was done, and holy, look at this thing. First of all, that hole the mealworms shoot through the side is nasty, and it's still filled to the brim with worms. Ugh. Then just this whole top part has bite marks all over it, and this thing is probably hollowed out and just filled with worms. Nah. And yeah, if you're wondering about the other pieces of styrofoam, basically the exact same thing happened to them, and they got obliterated. It's safe to say these mealworms are hungry.
Now, I think it's about time we get out the watermelon so we can do the final time lapse. And I got a knife
How?
here, so I can go and cut this thing up so we can reveal the nice.
How is he gonna put it? Perhaps separate them and then put it in the center. Let's see.
juicy red part.
So yeah, that's exactly what I did, and I just put the watermelon straight into this tank so we could get this test started right away. Now, you already know the mealworms started to, of course, climb all over the watermelons right away. Mealworms love watermelons because, of course, they're super sugary and sweet, but they're also made out of 92% water, meaning the mealworms can just get super hydrated. Now, it's so crazy because you can see how nice and bright red this watermelon is now. Well, it only took a couple hours until that bright red completely started to fade as thousands of mealworms started to climb all over the watermelon, nibbling tiny little pieces out of it. And yeah, this all happened in the time span of only 12 hours. Yeah, I literally just left this overnight.
Okay, I just checked on this for the first time since waking up, and first of all, this smells absolutely disgusting. But look at this. This was a bright red color like 10 hours ago, but it's like completely rotted.
Like,
because of what these mealworms are doing to it. This is nasty, and they're making all these tiny little holes in it. Nah.
Anyways, I moved the tank to the floor to continue the rest of the time lapse. But as you can see in this footage, as I continued recording, the mealworms weren't nearly as interested in the watermelon. Pretty much none of them were even eating it anymore. I mean, it does look pretty rotten, to be honest, so I guess it would make sense to why they don't want to eat it. But yeah, I decided to just stop the time lapse since they weren't eating it anymore, and I came back 24 hours later so I could see the full results of what the watermelon looked like.
What the heck? This is so nasty. Is that mold growing on the water?
That was rotten. It looks rotty.
Melons? Oh my gosh.
But actually, to my surprise, when I took a look under the watermelons, there was massive holes chewed through the green shell part. And like this watermelon here had so much chewed through this part. So yeah, I guess the mealworms really were eating the watermelon, but I guess it just wasn't showing up on the time lapse because it was happening under where we could see it. Dang, that's actually insane that they could eat so much.
Anyways,
if you actually like this video, hit that subscribe button and I gave you a feast. Until next time, subscribe so that we buy a better life. See y'all.